put it in the chat and we'll get back to you that way. And yeah, if you have to leave or anything like that, yeah, just let us know in the chat first. That would be great. So this workshop is very exciting. It's called Making Waves, Writing About the Sea, and is being led by Daisy Henwood. Daisy is a local writer, tutor and arts producer. She is co-director of Toast, a live literature project which supports writers in the UK. She leads writing workshops all over East Anglia and has been commissioned by the BBC and Norwich City Council as well. Received her PhD in environmental literature from the UEA in 2019 and is writer in residence at Wherry School. So she's very busy. But Daisy, welcome and thank you so much for joining us today. I will hand over to you.
Really excited about this. We've got lots of stuff going on today. I've just got lots of exercises for us, all to do with writing about the sea. So what we're going to do, the kind of structure of it is I'm just going to go through some exercises with you. We're going to read some poems. There'll be a chance to kind of discuss and share your work at the end if you want, but also if you just want to join in and write, that's completely fine. Before we start, just to make sure that everyone has something to write with and something to write on, and then we'll get going. So the first thing I want you to do, considering we're thinking about writing about the sea, is I want you to imagine yourself by the sea. So take a minute to really kind of situate yourself in this, be quite specific about it. Are you in the water? Are you on the beach? Are you walking? Are you standing? Are you sitting? Is it a sandy beach? Is it a stony beach? So just take a second to imagine in your head where you are and what you're doing on the beach. And then once you've got that image in your head, I'd like you to write down 5 things that you can see. 5 things that you can see. I'll do all of this with you. Cool. And once you've written down those 5 things, I want you to think about 5 things you can hear. And now 5 things that you can smell. What do you smell when you're by the sea? And then 5 things that you might taste. There might be crossover. I've just realized that I think I've got the same thing on 3 of my lists. And then your final list is 5 things that you can feel. And this can be physical feelings or they can be emotions. You can take this really outside the box. It's completely up to you. Okay, does everyone have their lists? Does anyone want to tell me one of the things that they could see in their imagining being by the sea? You can put it in the chat if you want, or you can shout it out.
I could see the water.
Yep, brilliant. Did everyone have that? Yeah. What about, sorry, what was that? No. What about things you could hear? Seagulls, yeah, I had that one on mine. They're very loud. Taste?
We put salt, like from
Yeah.
water.
Yeah, definitely. I had salt. I also had chips. Always a good one. What about smell?
Chips.
Yeah. Classic seaside smell, chips and donuts. And then feeling. What about feeling? Because this is quite a broad category. What did you have for this?
Happy.
Yeah, happy, lovely. I had calm. That was one of the ones I had on mine. The beach makes me feel really calm. Anything else for feelings?
Excited.
Yeah, great. These are great ones. Well done. Cool. Okay. So now for the next exercise, I'd like you to pick one of the things from any of your list. It doesn't matter what it is. But then I'm going to give you 5 minutes. I want you to describe that in as much detail as possible. So if you can smell chips, like what does it make you feel like to smell that? What exactly are you smelling? Are you smelling the frying oil, the potatoes? Is it salty? So just take some time to pick one thing and really imagine that one thing and really zero in on it. So take a few minutes now to just describe it in as much detail as possible. All right, take another minute just to wrap that up and then we'll move on. All right. So what did people pick? What did you pick to describe there? Because that can really change the direction of the task.
Me and Jess chose stones to describe.
Stones, yeah, brilliant. How did you do that? How did you go about it?
Sorry, I meant shells.
Oh, shells.
Yeah.
Great too.
Well, we described them by like describing how they looked and how they felt.
Brilliant. Yeah, so you're kind of picking them up in your imagination, you're feeling them as well as looking at them. Great. Anything else?
I chose the waves.
Yeah. Waves are quite hard to describe. They're quite hard to describe not as waves or not in terms of water. There's like I think I would find that really difficult. How did you go about that?
Well, I did kind of find it a bit difficult, but I liked how they kind of tower over you.
Yeah. Yeah, lovely. So you've got like big crashing waves on your beach. Brilliant. Great. Well done, everyone. Okay. So let's move on. For the next thing, we're just going to read a poem. So let me share my screen. Here we go. All right, so we've got 2 poems to look at. And this one is by Matthew Sweeney and it's called Wading. And I'm just going to read it. And while I read it, I just want you to think about whether there's anything in here that you particularly like, anything that kind of jumps out at you, and what kind of image of a beach or the sea he's really describing here. So it's called Wading. She's in the sea again. She's got her white dress on. She's wading through the waves, watched by no one. The stars are blotted out and the moon's hidden, and she's splashing through the sea thinking about him. He was here an hour ago. He ran along the beach. He shouted out Julie and waved a torch, but he never came her way and she ignored him, stood there and watched as he staggered home. Her eyes are pebbles. Her dress is seaweed. Her legs are driftwood that needs to float, but for now she keeps wading, slicing the waves that keep on offering their myriad loves. Okay. What do you think of that? Did anything jump out at you? Do you have questions about it?
I liked where the author put her eyes are pebbles, her dress is seaweed, her legs are driftwood.
Yeah, definitely. That's my favorite bit. I think that bit's really cool. I love it's they're strange descriptions, but it's very vivid and you really kind of get a sense of what this person looks like and it really links her with the sea that she's walking in. Yeah, brilliant. Anything else? Any other bits?
I like how they put she's splashing through the sea thinking about him.
Yeah. Why did you pick that bit?
It's like really like effective. Like you don't know who him is until like the next.
Yeah, brilliant. Right, there's questions. We don't know who either of these people are. Really, we're just getting a kind of image of 2 people on the beach. I get the sense when I read this that like we're standing quite far away from the action. Like, she's watching the sea and she's watching him and he's looking for her and we're kind of watching both of them. There's lots of watching going on here. And I think that really gets at like the size of a beach. You can see people really far away and you sort of see what's going on from afar. And there's a kind of strangeness to that. But I really like this poem. I think it's a really nice kind of look at a strange, it's quite dark moment. It's this woman, sort of lonely woman in a white dress walking in the sea and someone's looking for her and she's like doesn't want to be found. But that bit that we picked out with her eyes are pebbles, her dress is seaweed, I really like that technique of metaphor of describing something as something else, and we're going to have a go at doing that ourselves now. So the first thing I'd like you to do is just write a list of 10 like physical characteristics. So they can be body parts or they could be someone's smile or their laugh, their hair, anything like that. So just write a list of 10 of those down one side of your page. I'll do it as well. Have you got those? Once you've got 10 physical characteristics, then next to that, I'd like you to write 10 adjectives. They can be to do with anything, but if you want to keep it kind of beach themed, then that's great too. So describing words. And then once you've got your 10 adjectives in your final column, I'd like you to write a list of 10 objects that you'd find in the sea. And you can be as weird and wonderful with this as you like. Okay, does everybody have their lists? Yeah.
Almost. We're almost done.
All right, yeah, take a couple more minutes.
Thank you.
Okay, how are we doing? Have you at least got some on each of your lists?
Yeah.
Great, that's great. Okay, so now we're going to put them together. So what was one of the physical characteristics that you came up with? Hair? Yeah, hair is great. Cool. And then what was one of the adjectives that you had?
We put sparkling for the eyes.
Well, let's put sparkly next to hair. So sparkly. And then what was one of the sea objects that you had?
Coral.
Coral. Okay, so her hair was sparkly coral. Brilliant. What about another physical characteristic? What was that? Sorry, I didn't hear that. Can you say it again?
Lips.
Lips. Thanks. And then another adjective? Say that again.
Crimson red.
Crimson red. And then one of your objects?
Shells.
Shells. So her lips were crimson red shells. I love that. I think that's great. Great. So you can see there how writing those three lists gives us this kind of bank of images, a bank of metaphors that we can use to describe a person. And if you have 10 of each, you can mix and match them. This is a really good way of shaking up your writing. So if you had her lips were crimson red shells, then you could swap out the characteristics. And maybe you could say that her laugh was a crimson red shell. It slightly changes the image. It makes it's a bit more absurd, it's a bit stranger, but it perhaps tells you something different about that character. So this is a really nice one to come back to in your writing, kind of whatever you're writing about, and giving yourself that restraint of, okay, I want to describe this person, so I'll write down these things about them, and then I'll just come up with a bunch of adjectives and then some things. It could be anything, car parts, things you'd find in a kitchen, anything like that. It gives you a really good a good way of thinking outside of your own box. So well done. You can come back to that. You've basically written your own 10-line poem about a person there. Her hair is crashing crabs was one of the ones that I had. And you can use that to describe a person. You can use this in other things. You can use it to start off a poem. You could use it in a prose piece or a story. So that's just a nice technique to kind of take away with you. Okay. So for our next activity, the first half of it, I want you to just write down as many words as you can think of to describe water. I'm going to set you a timer. So I'm going to give you like 3, maybe 2 minutes. 2 minutes to write down as many words as you can think of to describe water, starting now. Okay, stop there. What were some of the words you came up with?
Okay, there we go. We come up with sparkling,
Sparkling, brilliant.
shimmering, and salty.
Oh yeah, great, shimmering. I love that. Salty, good. Any others?
Crystal clear.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, lovely. Okay.
Smooth.
What was that, sorry? Smooth, great. Great, this is a really good list. It's so good, in fact, that it's going to make the next bit of this task quite difficult, because what I'd like you to do now is try and describe the sea without using any of the words on your list. This can be really difficult. I'm going to give you about just over 5 minutes for this. Again, this is another exercise designed to get you thinking outside the box. So see what you come up with. If you come up with a sentence, great. If you come up with a paragraph, brilliant. But go for it. But the only rule is that you can't use any of the words on your list. Off you go. Just got 2 more minutes on that.
Okay.
Okay, wrap that one up. And how did you find that? How was it?
Kind of hard because we chose really good like adjectives and stuff.
Yeah, it's really difficult, and especially when I trick you, right? Because I tell you that I want you to write a list of all of these amazing words to do with water, and then I don't let you use any of them. Seems kind of unfair. But did you find that it made you think about water in a way that you wouldn't necessarily have thought about it? Did you find that you came up with anything surprising?
Just you said. We put like it is polluted by tons of plastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, it's almost impossible to think of the sea at the moment without thinking about that, right? Without thinking about pictures of plastic waste floating and on the beach as well. So that's absolutely right. So it gave you a kind of different angle. Maybe it was a different way of thinking about the sea, a much kind of darker one. Brilliant. Anything else you put down?
We also put see-through rippling water.
Yeah, see-through and rippling, like thinking of synonyms, right? Thinking of other ways of saying clear. Yeah, again, it asks you to kind of expand your vocabulary and think quite hard about the words that you're choosing to use and why you're using them. And the great thing about this activity is that you've got your list of water words and your description of water. And if you wanted to develop this later on, you can just break the rules and bring those other words back in. All of these exercises are like that, right? I give you constraints and I give you rules, but if later on you want to take what you've done and completely break the rules, then that's completely fine. That's completely up to you. You're all writers, you get to decide. Great, well done. Okay, so I have another poem that I want us to read now, so I'll just get that up. Oh, there we go. Okay, so this is another poem about the sea. This one is about under the sea, and it's called Invitation, and it's by Amy Nezuko Matatil. She's an American poet, and she's wonderful. She's got this real sense of kind of joy, and that's kind of the main thing that I really love about this poem. So I'm going to read it through, and again, same questions as before. So while I read it, I want you to have a think about it, whether there are any bits that you particularly like, whether there are any kind of questions you have about it, or just what bits really stick out to you. Okay, invitation. Come in, the water's fine. You can't get lost here. Even if you want to hide behind a clutch of spiny oysters, I'll find you. If you ever leave me at night by boat, you'll see the arrangement of red gold sun stars in a sea of milk. And though it's tempting to visit them, stay. I've been trained to gaze up all my life, no matter the rumble on earth, but I learned it's okay to glance down into the sea. So many lessons bubble up if you know where to look. Clouds of plankton churning in open whale mouths might send you east, and chewy urchins will slide you west. Squid know how to be rich when you have 10 empty arms. Can you believe there are humans who don't value the feel of a good bite and embrace at least once a day? Underneath you, narwhals spin upside down while their singular tooth needles you like a compass pointed towards home. If you dive deep enough where imperial volutes and hatchetfish swim, you will find all the colors humans have not yet named, and wide caves of black coral and clamshell. A giant squid finally let itself be captured in a photograph, and the paper Nautilus ripple flashes scarlet and two kinds of violet when it silvers you near. Who knows what will happen next? And if you still want to look up, I hope you see the dark sky as oceanic, boundless, limitless, like all the shades of blue in a glacier. Listen how this planet spins with so much fin, wing, and fur. Okay, so what jumped out at you there? What did you find particularly interesting?
Well, throughout it uses direct address, so it's if the author's talking to you.
Yeah, brilliant. The you, right? We're involved in this. We're being, like you say, directly addressed. We're being invited in. It's called an invitation, and it really follows through on that. Brilliant. Yeah. Anything else?
I really like the red gold sun stars in the sea of milk, like they're describing the sea as if it was milk.
Yeah, that's lovely. It's a kind of strange description, and yet it's it really gets at that kind of sparkling sense that we've been talking about already, right? That sort of shimmering water, but that it's red gold instead of a kind of blue, and that it's milk instead of water. There's something kind of strange about that image, isn't there? Yeah, brilliant. Any other bits like that you liked?
Like the wide caves of black coral.
Yeah, the colors in this are strange, right? Like the red gold sunstars, the black coral. I really like the bit, where is it, the two kinds of violet, when it silvers you near. That's a strange it's a strange image, but this idea of being like silvered, the way she's using the colors there is really, really cool. Two kinds of violet, ripple flashes scarlet. These aren't really particularly watery colors, and yet it all makes sense. Did you get a sense of a kind of strange underwater world from this? Was that something that you kind of felt as I was reading it?
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. So she's taking us kind of under the water, and a lot of what we've been talking about already has been kind of looking out from the beach. This poem changes our perspective, right? It takes us under the water into a world that we don't see. You know, that bit about finding all of the colors that we don't even have names for yet. This sense of that, you know, the like deep ocean is such a mystery to us, and it's so fascinating. And I really like the way that she treats that with such wonder. A lot of a lot of like horror films and stuff like that really rely on the deep sea as this kind of frightening place, but what Nezuko Matatal is saying in this poem is that what if it's a joyful place? What if it's kind of wonder that that there's all of this stuff that we don't know? I think that's a really liberating thought, actually, to be okay with there being stuff that we don't know about the sea, and it's quite a humbling thing. Brilliant. Anything else that you want to say about this poem before we do some more writing?
Where it said, you will find all the colours humans have not yet. It made me really think about like colours that don't even exist, but I can't like do it because it's just weird.
Yeah. It's a really strange thing, right? To think that there might be colours that we don't even know about, and there are colours that other creatures can see that human eyes can't. And that's a real kind of like mind-bending thought, isn't it? It's really strange. But she's really getting into that sort of like otherworldly, creaturely type perspective. Yeah, brilliant. Anything else about the poem? No?
I like the bit with the giant squid letting itself be captured in a photo.
Yeah, why did you like that bit?
It's hard to explain. It's like, I don't know. It's like
being captured.
Yeah.
You can't explain, basically.
Yeah, I understand why you've picked that bit out, though, because I think that's interesting, because the line break comes after captured. So a giant squid in a photograph, it's almost like the way that the poem breaks it there makes it kind of tense, because you worry about the giant squid being actually kind of captured in a net. But when it's captured in a photograph, it becomes this kind of object of wonder and beauty, because we've got this image of this squid that's actually not been caught, if that makes sense. Yeah. There's a kind of strangeness there. Great, well done. I'm glad you like that. This is one of my favorite poems. I find it really like affirming. I don't know why. I think it's cool. So what we're going to do now, we've got a couple of exercises based on this poem, and then some time at the end just to do your own writing. So the first thing I'd like you to do, we're going to do a free write. And with free writing, the idea is I'm going to give you a prompt, and then I want you to put your pen to paper, and I'm going to time you for 5 minutes. And the aim is to not stop writing for that time. So you can write whatever comes into your head, take it in whatever direction you want. This is all just for you to kind of see what happens when you don't think too much. So don't think too hard, just keep going. If you get stuck, you can write lists, you can repeat words, you can write sentences again, that's completely fine. But the aim is to, and your prompt, your kind of starting sentence is come in, come in. So you can take that in whatever direction you want. Come in, come in. And I'm going to set a 5-minute timer starting now. Okay, wrap up that piece there. And then once you finish that sentence, how did you find that? How did you find just having to write for 5 full minutes?
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, what did you enjoy about it?
Just, I know, using my imagination to come up with something.
Yeah, and it feels quite freeing, right? It's called free writing for a reason, I guess. Like, it just frees you up to do whatever you want to do. It's kind of the opposite to some of the stuff that we've already done, right? It's got no restraint, no rules. You just write what comes to mind. Brilliant. Anyone else enjoy it? Anyone find it really hard?
I really enjoyed it because like you could write whatever like came into your head, and it was really fun to like use your imagination a
Yeah.
bit.
Great, that's really good. I'm really glad you enjoyed that. I think free writing is really, really good. I find it really useful in my own work. I think I can often really get up in my head about what I'm doing. And if I set myself a timer for 5 minutes and say, I'm just going to write whatever comes out, often really surprising things will happen. And you'll sort of get halfway through and think, oh, that's what I want to write about. That's what this is. And then again, all of this material, all of this stuff that we're writing, you can come back to and use in future projects and in future pieces of writing. So you'll find that there are little kind of nuggets of inspiration in what we're doing. Great. Okay. So the next thing I want us to do, another thing that I really like about this poem, Invitation, is that the poet asks us questions. You know, she asks, like, can you believe that there are humans who don't value the feel of a good bite and embrace at least once a day? And then she asks, who knows what will happen next? I think those questions are really important, and they're part of that thing that you pointed out about the direct address in the poem, like involving the reader by asking questions. And I want us to do a kind of version of this. I want us to start thinking in terms of questions. And to do this, I want you to think all the way back to the image that I asked you to come up with at the beginning. So imagining yourself on the beach, or in the sea, or wherever you were by the sea in that image. So put yourself back there in your head, and I'd like you to come up with 3 questions that you want to ask the sea. They can be weird, they can be strange, they can be scientific, they can be kind of philosophical, whatever you want. But I'd like you to just spend a couple of minutes thinking about 3 questions that you want to ask the sea and write them down. Okay, does everyone have questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, what were they? Can each of you tell me one of your questions?
Okay, so the first one we put is, what would you be if you weren't the sea?
Great question, that's so good. That's like a proper interview question. I love it. What about another one?
We also put, what is it like having all the pollution?
Yeah, that was one of mine as well. I had, does the plastic waste hurt? Which is a horrible thing to think about if that's true. Great, and one more?
I got, what is it like to feel an infinite amount of life forms swimming in your waters?
Yeah, these are fantastic questions. Well done, guys. They're really, really good. So for the next, this is our penultimate task. We've got one more thing after this. But for this one, I'd like you to now take one of those questions and imagine the sea's answer to it. So if you were asking the sea, what does it feel like to have all of this life swimming in you? What might the sea say in response? So I'm going to give you 5 minutes just to work on that. You can write it in whatever form you want. You can think about it as if you are posing interview questions to the sea, or you could use the question as a title for a poem. It's really up to you. But just spend 5 minutes kind of making a start on that and thinking about what the sea would say in answer to one of those questions. They're all really good questions. Okay, wrap that one up there. And how did you find that? How did you find imagining the voice of the sea?
Quite hard because, like, you'd have to think how the sea would speak because, like, the sea doesn't talk.
Yeah, absolutely. You're having to come up with a complete kind of character. What kind of voice does the sea speak in? Is it kind of an old, thoughtful voice? Is it young and excited? Is it changeable? Thinking about how the sea changes all the time. Yeah, that is quite a difficult task. Anyone else have any feelings about that one?
I think it was hard and easy because sometimes you can imagine hearing a voice, but sometimes you can't.
Yeah, I get that. That like there are perhaps parts of it that are quite easy to imagine. Maybe it's quite easy to imagine how the sea might begin to answer that, and then it gets a bit more tricky as you have to think a bit harder about what that character might sound task. But it's another one that gets you kind of thinking outside the box, gets you thinking kind of beyond what you would normally be doing. Okay, we have one more task, and this one is really open. I've left quite a big chunk of time at the end here for you to just do what you want to do. So my final prompt for you is just the title of this poem. It's Invitation, and you can take that in whatever way you want. You can use it as the title for a poem, like Amy Nizuku Mutatil has done here. You could imagine that you're writing a speech about plastic waste that kind of invites people to take action. You could write a prose piece or a story, whatever you like. But you've got about just under 15 minutes. We'll pause a little bit before the end. Just under 15 minutes now to just have a go, and you can go back to some of the material that we've already written. You know, if you had an idea earlier that you really want to pursue, then go for it. You don't have to work that into Invitation if there's something you'd rather do. But this time is just for you to see where you go, see what you come up with. If you have any questions, give me a shout. But if not, then Invitation is your prompt, and take that in whatever way you'd like. Got about, I would say, 13 minutes. All right, we'll have to pause that one there. So just wrap up that sentence. You can always come back to it later. But how did you find that last task?
I really enjoyed it.
What did you end up writing about?
I kind of wrote about the waves, the water, and the sea, and how it's kind of responsible for life and death.
Brilliant.
Life in it, but also death as well.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's kind of dark and eerie, but also incredibly life affirming and like scientifically true, right? The sea is responsible for keeping us alive. Like a lot of the oxygen that we breathe is there because of the sea. Brilliant. Anyone else?
I really liked it because we got to like write about whatever we wanted, like about the sea. So you could incorporate like what you've written down. So it might be like about the questions that the sea asks, or it might be how the sea felt, or you could write lots of different like perspectives.
Great. Oh, I'm really good. I'm really glad that you found something good there. I'm glad that you found some kind of crossover in the exercises that we've done. That would be the kind of idea of this, right? That you start to take things from all of the things that we've done to build up to this final piece. And I hope that you get a chance to carry on with some of the stuff that you've been writing today. But yeah, I think we probably need to leave it there. We're about to time, aren't we? Thank you so much, Lily, Sophia, and Jessica. You've been fantastic. I've really enjoyed this. I hope that you have too. Thank you for joining in and talking to me. And carry on writing. This has been really great.
Thank you too.
Thank you.
Oh, lovely. That's really nice, Daisy. And thank you, Lily, Sophia, and Jessica, for joining in. I'm not sure if Meg's internet is holding up okay, but she's asked me just to ask for some quick feedback. How did you find that workshop? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, we really enjoyed it. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. Was there any highlight, anything that you're taking away from it particularly?
I'm going to take away probably description about what I wrote in like my final paragraph and like about the poem.
Yeah. Oh, lovely. So you've improved some writing skills.
Yeah. And we can now see the sea in a different kind of way than before.
Oh, sorry, I'd missed that bit. That was a bit quiet.
We can now see the sea in a different way than we did before.
Brilliant. Oh, that's really nice. That's high praise, Daisy.
Thank you so much.
That's fantastic. Any final comments, girls, before we finish up here?
Thank you.
Just a thank you. That's brilliant. All right, we will let you go in that case. Thank you for joining, and thank you as well to Daisy. That was fantastic. I learned a lot.
Great.
So yeah, that's brilliant. And we'll let you go, Lily, Sophia, and Jessica.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Take care, girls. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Hi, Meg. Sorry, that was I think your internet just